Today, my name is Micaela Gonzalez Barcia, and today we're going to talk about ancient education. First, what is ancient education? In ancient times, the total education was concentrated on the establishment of the existence of God, heaven, and hell. If justice is followed, God rewards you with heaven, and if injustice is done, God punishes you in hell. If you say that God exists, people may not believe and may commit sins by which the balance of the society gets disturbed. The existence of God is to be proved through very deep logical analysis and discussion. All the seminars and conferences in ancient India run on a single subject, which is about the existence and nature of God. Today, people think that the ancient scholars in India was wasted a lot of time on this useless subject. One of the subtopics of ancient education is primitive education. What is primitive education? Education was acquired during primitive period by inculturation. Inculturation is the process of learning the culture and acquiring the values and knowledge of a society. Primitive education aims to help a primitive person learning his culture, developing his behavior in the ways of adulthood, and guiding him toward eventual role in the society. In this education, the environment and all the surrounding activities are viewed as school or classroom, and all adults act as teachers. The purpose of primitive education is to shape the children to becoming good member of a tribe. Training for citizenship is essential. Primitive people, because they are primarily concerned with the growth of individuals as tribal members and the comprehensive understanding of their society and lifestyle during the passage from pre-puberty and post-puberty. Second subtopics of ancient education is Oriental education. Oriental education is the study of Near and Far Eastern societies and culture, language, and peoples by Western scholars. It can also refer to the imitation or deception of aspects of Eastern cultures in the West by writers, designers, and artists. The former has come to acquire negative connotation in some quarters and is interpreted to refer the study to the East by Westerners, influenced by the attitudes of the area of European imperialism in the 18th and 19th century. When used in this sense, it implies old-fashioned and prejudiced outsider interpretation of Eastern cultures and peoples, allowing frequent misunderstanding of their cultural, ethical, and religious beliefs. However, the rise of the global economy and communications, greater understanding and exchange are taking place between both Eastern and Western culture, leading to the promotion of one-world family and contributing the lasting peace in the world. Third subtopics of ancient education is Greek education. In all the Greek city-states except for Sparta, the purpose of education was to produce good citizens. Children were trained in music, art, literature, science, math, and politics. In Athens, for example, boys were taught at home until they about 6 years old, and then the boys went to school where they learned to read and write. They learned to play a musical instrument, usually the flute or the lyre. They learned the poetry of Homer. They learned how to debate and how to give a persuasive speech. They studied science and math. After high school, they attended military school, where they learned to be good warriors. Boys did not graduate all the schooling they were required to take until they were about 20 years old. Except for the city-state of Sparta, Greek girls did not go to school. They were taught at home by their mothers. If the mother could read and write, they taught their girls how to do the same, as well as teaching them how to cook and sew and run a household. Education in Sparta was completely different. The purpose of education in Sparta was to produce and maintain a powerful army. Sparta boys entered military school when they were about 6 years old. They learned how to read and write, but those skills were not considered very important except for messages. Military school was tough on purpose. The boys were often hungry, they were often beaten, they slept away from home in the barracks with the men. If they cried, they were beaten, sometimes by their own parents. They were taught how to steal and lie, and get away with it. Those skills could save their life someday. Nearly everything in Spartan educational system was about war and battle. Spartan girls went to school to learn to be warriors. Their school was not as brutal, but all girls in ancient Sparta could wrestle and fist fight and handle a weapon. They were taught how to kill. The Spartans believed that strong women produce strong babies. Besides, the women might have to defend the city if the men were away at war. No great works of art came out of Sparta, but most of the other Greek city-states wanted Sparta on their side. The Spartans were great friends to have in times of war. Fourth subtopics of ancient education is about Roman education. Education in ancient Rome influenced the development of education system throughout Western civilization. In the span of few centuries, Rome went from an informal system of education in which knowledge was passed from parents to children to specialized, tiered system of schools inspired by Greek educational practices. Rome's rise to the status of the world power ensured the perpetuation of its methodology and curriculum throughout the provinces it ruled.